Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you've been well. I hope that you're hanging in there. I wanted to talk to you all a little bit today about whether or not you should buy an espresso machine. Over the last 30 days or so, I've been challenging myself to dial in a different coffee every week and share that experience with you guys here on YouTube. I've learned a lot through this process, including a few things that I think you should be prepared for before you decide to buy an espresso machine. It is for sure a rewarding journey for the right person, and it affords you the opportunity to explore different styles of coffee and espresso from all over the world right in your home. But it can also be a giant pain in the ass. So if you're thinking about going down the home espresso rabbit hole, here are a few things that you should consider. The first thing is managing your expectations. Not every shot is gonna be an amazing shot. Even if you take the time to carefully dial it in one day, the next day it's gonna be a little bit different. This is due to the aging of the coffee and how the coffee changes over time. It's due to changes in climate and temperature in your house, unless you have some crazy climate control system, and it also really depends on how consistent your equipment is. For me, I know that my Brazzavier needs to be recalibrated every once in a while. I consistently go from espresso to drip on that thing, and it just needs to be fine-tuned every now and then. Honestly, I find it pretty difficult to pull several identical shots all in a row on that grinder. It's nice when you finally make it. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I also know that I am perfectly happy to enjoy a C+ or a B- espresso, and I'm really excited every time my setup will crank out an A+. So make sure that you can let go of perfectionism, because it will make you crazy if you let it. Number 2, not every coffee is going to be the same. Now this may go without saying, but I know a lot of people who are into espresso have this kind of version of espresso in their head that they love and they kind of find to be like the ideal shot of espresso. I have been guilty of this myself in the past, and it took me a really long time to learn that not every coffee that you pull through an espresso machine is the same and can be dialed in the same way. When I was just getting started out, whether it was at home or whether it was at a barista job that I had, I would dial in the same coffee for a long time, and then for fun just try and throw a different coffee through and try and use the same recipe and sort of bend that coffee to that style. And of course it doesn't really work that way. You have to be able to use your palate to listen to the coffee and figure out what kind of style is going to work. And learning to do this takes a while. You really can only do it by tasting a whole bunch of coffees, and if you have somebody that you know who has an espresso machine or is into coffee and has just a little bit more experience than you as a taster, taste with them, and eventually you'll get to a point where you can get comfortable brewing all sorts of different coffees as espresso. Number 3, some things are going to go wrong. Coffee equipment of any kind takes some regular maintenance, both with descaling, with back flushing, with just cleaning, keeping gaskets nice and clean, and occasionally take on some bigger projects like taking apart the group head to really clean all the little pieces out, changing the pump out. After 7 years with my rocket, I actually changed out the water inlet system, which was kind of a big project. Really thankful actually to Seattle Coffee Gear, because they were able to help me get parts from Italy without having to pay crazy amounts of shipping, because they just ordered it with their shipment from Milan. If this sounds like a nightmare, run the other way. But if you like to tinker, if you like to get your hands dirty, and if you just kind of enjoy taking things apart and fixing them, then you can get a lot of fulfillment out of maintaining an espresso machine over the years. And the last thing to consider is that you have to love the game. If all of this sounds good to you, then espresso at home is something that you should probably consider. It's a really rewarding hobby, but it's as far as set it and forget it as you can get. You'll be continuously chasing excellent extractions, occasionally over-caffeinating, learning how to solve mechanical issues, and getting to know each coffee that you brew really well. For me, it really helps to keep in mind the Japanese aesthetic wabi-sabi, which I can't really explain here in a 5-minute YouTube video, but basically it goes like this. Nothing lasts, nothing is finished, and nothing is perfect. When I think about a shot of espresso, when I think about latte art that I pour, when I think about any real food or drink experience, whether out in a restaurant or at my home, all of those things, nothing lasts, nothing is finished, and nothing is perfect. really sums that whole experience up for me really, really well. And pretty much every time that I drink a shot of espresso, I savor it, I enjoy it, I kind of sit in the moment for a second, and then I move on. I can appreciate it if it was an okay espresso, I can appreciate it if it was an amazing espresso, but I'm always looking forward to the next one. Speaking of which, if you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. I'm gonna feed my cat now. He's been so patient. Say hello. Hello. What's up, everybody? I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your hair is looking great and you're getting through quarantine all right. It can be a really rewarding hobby, but it's as far as set it for